transforming your business is important, especially in times of crisis. But of course, we all know we don't only want to do transformation when crisis hit. We should be prepared for crisis way before the crisis actually happens. But we all know that in many cases, this is not the reality. We always think of being prepared, but suddenly we see we were not prepared as well as we should be. And we have an expert on transformation with us here today. Hello and welcome, Léocadie Ebakissé.
Thank you so much, Niels, for this invitation.
Thank you very much for being here. I know that normally you speak many languages and normalement vous parlez français. Merci beaucoup pour parler en anglais avec nous aujourd'hui. So thank you very much for speaking English with us today. I know that you work in many different languages, so thank you very much. And I get straight into the topic. When we talk about transformation, many organizations say transformation is very important, but then they just stay the same until crisis happens. And we saw exactly the same with COVID-19. Companies say we are very well prepared, pandemic happens, and suddenly they are not prepared at all. Why are so many organizations ignoring the importance of transformation?
Because the first thing they want to do is to earn money, to organize things, and they are connected with the processes. And then when the crisis happens, they remember that there are people, men and women, that are there and they are not prepared to help them to still earning money in a crisis time.
So when we now talk about transformation and transforming an organization, many people say, yes, transformation is important. And immediately afterwards, they say, we are such a big company. We are very conservative. It is very difficult to change something here. Maybe it is just best when we keep going like we do. Why is this attitude, which of course is not very sustainable, why is this attitude still around?
It's something related and connected with the fear, because you have habits and you feel really good with your habits. And while you are talking about transformation or change, it means that you're going to change your habits. And then people don't want to change their habits.
So people want to change everyone else, but they don't want to change by themselves. Yes. Is it like that?
Yes, of course. And then it's very difficult for them to understand that they have to change first, and then people around them will change. And they think that they are going to make change people first, and maybe they won't change their habits. That's why transformations in corporate world are very difficult.
When we now talk about transforming people from senior executive level, let's say board level members, because often we hear from CEOs, CFOs, the organization has to change, etc., etc. But then we see these boards, and these boards don't seem to change much. You still see the same people from the same universities, the same networks, or as they say in French, les réseaux. So you see the same people being all over the place. They don't change, but they expect anyone else to change. Why are senior leadership people so resistant to live what they expect from others?
It's all about something around education. They've been growing in the same places, learning from the same authors, learning the same methods. In those methods, the thing was, you are the one who's running things and the other are executing. So it's very simple. The other executes and the other change. I don't have to change.
Okay, so when someone now might listen to this podcast and they think, I think we need to change, but I don't have anything to say here. Maybe I just don't say anything because no one's listening to me here. How can someone make their voice heard in an organization when they are not on board level?
To have your voice heard, you have to choose very simple examples related with the customers, very simple examples related to the way concurrence is acting, and then competitive is acting, and then they will listen to what you're saying. But if you think that you're going to share the history of a big change without using examples, they won't listen to you.
Some organizations might claim that they cannot change because they say we are too big to change. Do you think this is true, or what do you think about these kind of statements?
This is for me, it's an excuse. We are too big to change.
Yeah.
So The first question I'll ask them is, you're too big to change? Okay, so maybe you can keep the way you're acting, and how your customers are changing. Do you think that the way you're acting will help your customers to be here and to buy your products all during the 10 next years? No. So you have to adapt yourself to your customers. So you have to change the way you're acting, the way you're selling, the way you're talking to them. It's all about being the best. But if you want to be the best, you have to be trained and connected with the change.
When we now look at talent, and I know that you did a lot of work in the talent area, especially in older former days. In former days, people say, oh, you go to a large organization, then they take care of you and you just work there. Sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable, but you just work in a large organization and then you retire 40 years later. Especially younger people right now don't have this attitude anymore, and they don't really care if it's a large organization or a smaller organization. Suddenly, large organizations are not the most in-demand employers anymore, and they are not used to this situation. Still, you see that they adopt very slowly to the market of attracting talent. So what would be your tips for organizations which are very large, very traditional, and they suddenly have to adopt to a completely different talent situation?
I would say that they have to be aware of what I call the syndrome of zapping. The new generation are more connected with their values, with their wishes, and they are very innovating people. So to become the more attractive right now on the market, they should offer them new opportunities like entrepreneurship, for example, or to help them to work on big or projects that will be helpful, that will see the results of what they are doing. They don't want to work anymore without seeing the results, without impacting, without changing things. That's why they're zapping.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when we talk about, for example, innovation, many senior executives say innovation is very important for our organization. Do you think that innovation can happen without transformation?
No, for me, it's very related. It's innovation.
That is a very straightforward answer. So when we talk about innovation, let's say people say, okay, transformation should take place and we are focusing on transformation in our business. Still, many companies say our innovation is not great. So just see, when you, for example, look at the insurance industry or the banking industry, suddenly you have startups having better ideas than these large organizations. And suddenly big organizations have startups as their competitors. Why is the amount of innovation and the quality of innovations in large organizations often not great? What do you think? What is the reason that holds people back?
Just because there's something around the connection with, I'm afraid of doing that. Do you think that we have to wait a little bit of time before starting? And they are always thinking and they are less acting. In the meantime, all the startups are thinking, creating, acting, innovating. Oh, they're testing, learning, and they're more competitive. It's all about, you have to dare, you have to be, to create another connection with the failure also. It's all about the mindset you're going to use to do that transformation, to create that innovation, and to learn the lessons you have to learn about that innovation. Innovation can be good if you learn things. Innovation can be bad if you think that you're going to kill your business doing that. It's a way of evolving too.
So that means you also have to take risk.
Yes, take risk.
So when we talk about taking risks, people will often say, I don't like to take risk because I don't like to fail, because when I fail, my boss is going to criticize me, or in worst case, they are going to fire me. So I'm not taking any risk, because when I take risk, I have the risk of losing my job first. How to do better?
I think it's just about creating new projects, or maybe trying to make them improve the projects they are working on. Someone that is afraid to fail is just because the management or the leadership he's been growing in, or maybe in that company, is not allowing failure. Failure is something that helps you to learn. But if you think that failure is going to kill your job or maybe to kill your team, you're not going to act. I think it's all about creating a new mindset and maybe a new way of managing those people to help them to share, to innovate, and to try to change the way they're acting.
Great. So would you say that failure is part of the process to do innovation and to transform your organization to become a better organization in the future? Is failure part of that?
Oh, yes, of course.
So it means management and executive have to accept that it's not going to be the always successful story. The way to success, failure is a part of it.
Oh, yes. And they have to learn that the way to succeed, you have to fail first, many times. And there are many people in the history of innovation that have shown that to us. So it's a risk to take, I know, but you can also be afraid of doing that. But if you don't do that, if you don't act, you will innovate in your mind, and we don't have the results. And that's a loss for the humanity or all the companies or your competitors. So just start asking which can be your innovation, allow your teams, show them the way they can use, or let them create or offer things. And I think that will have great things. If people dare, if people take risk, and if the management is aligned with that, with those ideas.
These are perfect final words for this podcast, I think. Is it okay when I put your contact data in the show notes of this podcast, so when people have ideas or maybe they want to get in touch with you, that they can see your email address here? Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's okay, Niels. Thank you so much.
Very good. So I'm going to put your contact data in the show notes of this podcast. And at the end, there's only one thing for me left to say. Léocadie, merci beaucoup et thank you very much for your time.
Merci beaucoup, Niels. Thank you so much.